Hello, everybody. Welcome to With Thunderous Applause, a podcast where two friends get together to share their thoughts and ideas about the events that we are facing. I fucked that up because it's been a minute and I haven't smoked weed in like a fucking week, and I smoked a joint like not even like right before, but like an hour and a half ago, and I'm still just like,
I think it's the events and ideas.
the events and ideas that will
That will
shape our
shape
uncertain future. Thank you, my friend.
Yes.
Worst intro ever.
Pause. Okay, go.
All right, but hey, folks, we're here. We're going to do a special Monday episode of Shooting the Poodoo. We're actually going to cover a very important item I wanted to cover, but it's not going to be like a long form thing because I just got back from international travel, which we'll talk about at the end of the show, so you don't have to stick around for it. And let's see, or you can skip to it if you want.
Ooh,
That's all you care about is juicy details about.
And if you don't like looking at us,
adventures,
you can also find us on podcasts.
Suspect Chinese food in Mexico.
Oh,
yes. At any rate, so today it's Shooting the Poodoo because we're going to talk about the Ahsoka trailer.
Yes, indeed.
And that's really awesome. And we like to talk about Star Wars when we shoot the Poodoo.
Hell yeah!
And we're going to
two different trailers. It'll be great.
Yeah, two different trailers, which surprised me when you posted those up because I actually realized earlier today when I was standing in the boarding line at the airport that I was like, oh shit, the trailer came out, and I just clicked on the first one and didn't really examine it, and it was
the
fan trailer that was actually really, really good.
But... Yeah, but that thing is like pushed to the top of all the search results. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, which seems, the fact that that's not at least subdued to the actual content that someone was searching for.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Like, I thought that was when I was first looking at it, and then I saw that it was like Darth trailers.
Yeah.
Like, that's not.
I mean, fantastic video editing.
Yeah.
Shit, if we have an extra second, we'll pull one up and watch it. Just for the lulz. We'll see. But we're going to lead off with Africa. I did want to update on Ukraine a bit. We're going to shoot the Poodoo Thursday. Maybe we can do it then.
Yeah. It's
more or less going the same way. There's been a lot in the last couple of weeks. The intensity is much higher. And it is becoming clearer and clearer and clearer that Russia is in fact in the victory position. And it seems like it's cooling down, and let's discuss Thursday, but it seems like it's cooling down in a way that might not escalate to nuclear conflict, which is awesome.
I like living and having all the amenities.
But it's still a very real risk. But I think the U.S. is and the West is finally starting to realize it's stretched a bit thin. And we're going to talk about one of the reasons it's stretched thin, as all empires do overextend. And this is the American led coalition of colonial and former colonial powers of Western Europe. And there's some shit going down in West Africa that we're going to talk about. So we should start there now. All right, this is an article from Newsweek. Is this the top? Yes. Go to the headline.
Right there.
Africa war fear grows. Close notification. Hold on. Africa war fears grow as Niger prepares troops for ECOWAS invasion. And this is in Newsweek. Go ahead and scroll. Coup leaders. So there was a coup. And it should say somewhere, Bazoum, the previous leader, was detained on July 26th. And a general, I'm not going to try, commander of the Presidential Guard, proclaimed himself the new leader, sparking condemnation from leaders from Africa, France, and the European Union, and United States, of course. Interestingly enough, just yesterday, when I was trying to take a nap, I watched the Get Schwifty episode, I think is season 2, Rick and Morty. And again, his top security official attempted to coup him. So it's weird how art imitates life, or life imitates art. Yeah. And anyway, so that's probably a bad joke. All right. The former NATO Supreme Allied Commander in Europe has warned the crisis could potentially lead to a full-blown war in Africa. Scroll.
Sounds pretty
A
bad.
military source told CNN on... Wait, too far.
Nope.
A military source told CNN that Niger's armed forces brought a convoy of about 40 pickup trucks from other parts of the country on Sunday. The U.S. has evacuated some staff, and there's 1,000 troops stationed there. Imagine that, a country that most people would think was Nigeria, but it's Niger. Or Niger, I think they say, Hardy. Different country. But we have 1,000 troops there for a drone base, which we're going to have Ben Norton tell us about us in just a minute. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. ECOWAS, a regional trading bloc of 15 countries, including many others in West Africa, including Nigeria, Senegal, Togo, and Ghana, issued an ultimatum demanding they relinquish power by midnight Sunday. Now, we're not going to share an article, I don't think, on it, but
they didn't do it.
They failed to meet that objective.
Yeah.
It was kind of an empty threat. Although, as it said earlier in this article, they did send some troops and vehicles to that area. And this is like, yeah, we don't give those people our nice stuff. We save that for the white Nazis in Ukraine. And they're just cruising around with maybe a 50 caliber machine gun mounted on the back of a fucking Toyota Hilux.
You know, you would think that this movement would garner support from, you know, people who really like pickup trucks in the United States. Just be like, look at this convoy they've got. Like, oh, that's great.
I think there was actually some connection between somebody sold a pickup truck in Texas and then like saw it in the media and like ISIS had it. And they were fucking driving like the same one. There was like a identifiable sticker on like the back of the car. So they're like, what the fuck? That was the car I sold.
Nice.
I think that's how it went down. But it's just funny because like used pickup trucks, international market, drop it off in a major port city, and then it winds up in the hands of fucking ISIS. Imagine that.
It's a small world after all.
Yeah, and then, you know, the side-by-side memes where it shows, like, ISIS standing up in the back of pickup trucks with a, you know, their flag, organization's flag, and then side-by-side with Americans doing the same thing with, like, an American flag. It's just... Yeah. Life is absurd. All right, let's wrap up on this one. So two of Niger's neighbors, Burkina Faso and Mali, which are neighbors to the west, where coups have also taken place in recent years, had earlier warned they would treat any outside military intervention in Niger as a declaration of war against them. So, like, this kind of freaks me out a little bit, and I don't want to say that this is like, super problematic to me, and that's probably telling in a lot of ways. But you know, not concerned with, you know, a couple countries coming to aid their neighbor against the other is against, you know, a handful of troops, you know, in this kind of Western puppet organization, you know, that operates or coordinates the empire in those countries, right, in that region. Not super concerned. The U.S. does have a drone base there. I think we were skipping to Ben Norton next, correct?
Then I'll get that.
Because I think he kind of gives us a little leftist take or like a realistic take on what's happening. And of course, it's the kind of typical imperial overreach BS. So let's roll that.
The United States and France are threatening foreign intervention in West Africa, in particular in the country of Niger, where a pro-Western government was overthrown. This is a region of the world that is very rich in natural resources and is also very strategic for the United States and France. Of course, France colonized West Africa and still maintains many neo-colonial policies, which I'll be discussing today. But also the United States has one of its largest and most important drone bases based in Niger. And Niger is one of the world's largest producers of uranium. And uranium is used for European energy, especially France, a country that has a lot of nuclear energy. As well, Niger is a major producer of gold. So the possibility of a foreign military intervention in Niger and potentially other West African nations is very seriously on the table. It is a threat that many countries in West Africa are taking seriously. And we have seen statements from neighboring countries of Niger that have similar governments, like in Burkina Faso and also in Mali, that have said that if there is a foreign intervention, they would consider this a declaration of war. The possibility of war breaking out in West Africa is very real. And as is pretty much always the case, Western powers are the ones fueling the fire of this conflict and threatening war.
Yeah, ain't it always the way? What I find interesting is like these are the countries that kind of got the short end of the stick when it comes to geographical location. Because this is them right here.
Oh, no, I think that was intentional. I'm not sure. I haven't had the chance to dig. I'm pretty sure, but I wouldn't want to say with any authority that that was done intentionally.
Right.
But yeah, they definitely are mostly desert.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a pretty brittle landscape through there.
Yeah, and I mean, somebody had to take it, so.
No, there's actually a little piece of desert somewhere else that is unclaimed by anybody.
Huh.
I forget where it is. I saw a TikTok about it.
I remember.
And it's just like a little inconsequential, like, you know, it's technically not on anybody's maps, like, as them claiming it, but it's like, you know, maybe the size of a residential house or something.
Yeah, and probably.
And it comes with like some baggage, right? Like,
you probably
know that it costs more than it would benefit them. So, yeah, so that might happen. And it's interesting. So there was this coup, of course, by one of the security chiefs, as we said in the other article. And it seems to have fairly popular backing. Of course, we're going to provide a source in just a second about that, where, of course, left-wing groups support sovereignty and autonomy, and maybe a coup isn't the greatest way to go about it, but the governments in power there were installed by coups and Western French and U.S. manipulation of their election system, and so on and so on, for, you know, generations, right? West Africa is where the vast majority of chattel slaves came from, as far as fueling the Western Hemisphere's economic growth in the American South, in parts of South Africa, including larger economies like Venezuela and Brazil, and then also, of course, the Caribbean. And so, yeah, it's been an area that's been fucked over a bunch, and there's a shit ton of oil in the Niger Delta. And I think that's part of the reason why those countries got separated, is because even though they were probably once ethnically pretty similar people that occupied that whole space, they wanted to cut a large portion of those people out of the political system that governs that oil. And clearly they have like desert resources, right? Like a lot of uranium is mined in deserts because, like, you might know the geology better than me, but isn't it like ancient, like oceans, or what do you call them, sinks or whatever, like the Salt Lake or whatever, where water comes and just evaporates out? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it gets concentrated. It's like uranium salts or something like that. Yeah,
and then it accumulates there, so they can extract it. Over geologic time, it's accumulated, so they can go mine it. And so they have that resource. And of course, you know, we've talked about nuclear a lot, and France, of course, has like the most nuclear, I think, out of every country. Maybe China's probably about to pass it, or possibly maybe Russia has more. I don't know. Who has the most nuclear energy? I thought it's France. I thought like 80% of their grid or something is fucking.
I'll look it up.
You don't have the internet? We're shooting the Poodoo, bro. This is what we do. We fact check in real time.
It's U.S., man. U.S.
Has more nuclear power
USA.
by
Yeah.
gigawatts.
By production. Yeah. We got 91.5.
Right. And what in terms of total proportion of
Oh, a
power?
percentage?
Yes. Who's it more
okay.
important for?
Gotcha.
Obviously very important for the US. But we have quite a bit of uranium ourselves. Enough to...
More of a question. Okay, France, you are correct.
How much of it? More than
Um,
50, right?
It is 56%.
56, yeah.
No,
so
I'm sorry.
Almost
That's,
2/3.
no, I'm sorry. Wrong.
2/3.
62.6%.
Oh, in France?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just about a third. Or
And then
2/3.
Slovakia.
What?
Slovakia with 59.2. And Ukraine, 55. Hungary, 47. Belgium,
And what about
46.
the US? It's like 15?
Abysmal. I don't know. Let's see. No.
Might be even less.
18.2%.
Oh, 18? 15 is pretty close to that. That's
Yeah.
good, guys.
Mhm.
Yeah, dude. And I just learned this weekend, talking to some Swedes, lots of Swedes, so many Swedes, fucking crazy Swedes. I had some really awesome conversations that we'll get to in the debrief on the back end. One of them was electric power consumption, because I didn't know this, but Sweden gets 10% nuclear. Or this is what I was told. They might have their numbers a little off or be approximating. They said about 10% is that, and then the rest of it is hydroelectric and wind.
Mm.
It's like he's like, we don't import any natural gas, and we don't import any coal. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, where you can do it, dude. And those areas are going to stop being cold. Like maybe that's where you go. That's where you ride out the fucking apocalypse. And start a banana plantation in Sweden.
Make so much money.
I mean, or just adapt and I mean, at our point, we have no skin in the game, my friends.
Yeah.
When you can't reproduce, I mean, if that's their biological function, and the goal is but you can help a community, right? Like, and you can.
My goal is to make bananas.
You can propagate your ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, spread your ideas, semen.
Far more important. I produce way more ideas than anything else.
All right. I wanted to include this article from this is from People's Dispatch. This statement was I saw cross posted at the Socialist Worker, among some other kind of like I hate to say fringe, but they're kind of like there's a relatively small group of people who are spread out across like these left-wing international or even national organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And their commitment to a particular ideology, I think, is stronger than the rest of the masses. Like they almost approach a kind of like intelligentsia, or even if they're working directly with folks, or even if they come out of their ideology sets them apart from like the fucking masses that just like go about grinding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, the People's Dispatch posted this article, and they discuss can you scroll down past the headline?
Yeah.
Or scroll down. Yeah. So several left and people's organizations in West Africa have condemned the threat issued by the Economic Community of West African States. That's ECOWAS. That's that kind of regional coordination body that helps facilitate Western imperial ambitions in the region. To militarily intervene with the backing of France and the U.S. to restore the unpopular Mohamed Bazoum to Niger's presidency. The West African People's Organization, WAPO, has vehemently opposed the ultimatum by ECOWAS heads of states on July 30th to take all measures necessary, including the use of force, if ousted president and his government is not restored by Sunday, August 6th. August 6th obviously came and went, and we mentioned earlier that it didn't happen, but they did threaten the use of force, and this is the heads of states of those countries. So, like, all of the people in the organization went like, my country wants to do this, right? So they didn't do it, but they threatened it, and this was 4 days after the coup. So once they got an assessment, they're like, what are our options? All right, let's threaten to go to war with them. And of course, when has that ever worked?
I don't know. Never.
Like, you better surrender now or we're gonna kick you in the shin. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if France and the US are involved, it could be pretty bad. I can't
Surrender
imagine
now and we kick you in the shin.
I can't imagine that it would be much more than maybe a protracted kind of insurgency like Iraq or something.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to be able to snuff out if it's not like big militaries work against other big militaries. And we're finding in Ukraine that's not even the fucking case.
Yeah.
Right? Like the West simply can't win against insurgencies. And I think that the last 30 years of American foreign policy have demonstrated that quite clearly. So anyway, why take this country? The decision of ECOWAS, according to this People's Dispatch, is a maneuver by colonial France and Great Britain under the hegemony of American imperialism to resort to armed intervention under the guise of restoring democracy and human rights in Niger. Of course, right? It's always human rights and democracy. WAPO said in a statement on Wednesday, August 2nd. August 2nd. Am I not mistaken? That was 4 days. 4 days before the coup. So they expected something coming. Maybe they acted first.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was June 26th. My bad. So it happened June 26th, August 2nd. WAPO made this statement about, of course, they're going to try and intervene. And then 2 days later on the 4th, getting my numbers wrong. They were supposed to invade by the 6th.
Late July was when it happened. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And they want to keep the uranium-rich country under the imperialist fold, of course.
What? No.
The group,
democracy, bro.
So this explains what WAPO is. It's a group of unions, left parties, and civil society organizations. They described the former president as servile to the imperialist powers of NATO, particularly France, for which decades has plundered its uranium. Interesting again, right? The development and the energizing of that country. Like, people are like, oh, we gotta go fucking nuclear because fossil fuel industry is so bad. And then like there's this whole fucking colonial and imperialist infrastructure in place to extract something, to do this supposedly like, nuclear is the future. And so it's just like industrial society itself doesn't matter if you can greenwash it. Like, industrial society is fucking exploitative and oppressive.
Yeah.
All right.
In real time, right now. Watch it unfold.
Watch it unfold.
Yeah.
We are watching, and much of it is with Thunder's Plus. That's not the ending. Endowed with Africa's highest grade of uranium ores, Niger is the world's 7th largest producer of this nuclear fuel, while Niger itself remains one of the lowest consumers. This is why I included this article, because I was reading this and I was like, let's talk about this, because this figure blew my fucking mind. So it as the 7th largest producer of nuclear fuel, it has less than 20% electrification rate, meaning 1 in 5 people have fucking power. I guess close to 2 in, right, or whatever. No, 1 in 5.
It's less than 1 in 5. Yeah,
less than 1 in 5 people have electricity, like reliable. I'm sure there's probably like some kind of grid that has power sometimes, but like reliable electricity, less than 1 in 5. Yet its uranium has been powering a third of the light bulbs in France, which we actually just looked it up, and it was a lot closer to, it was like a little over 60. You said 62%?
62%, yeah.
So even a third of the light bulbs in France is very generous, because that's actually almost powering almost 2/3 of the light bulbs in France.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe they're taking into account that much of it is used in industrial applications and doesn't get to light bulbs.
Yeah, but I think the whole light bulb thing is just like rhetoric.
Yeah, I get it.
Right. New military rulers have halted the export of uranium and gold to France, which the junta, which is the like interim government after a coup, accused on July 31st of having secured an authorization from the ousted government's foreign minister to militarily intervene to restore Bazoum. Up to 1,500 French troops are already deployed in Niger, in addition to about 1,100 U.S. troops in 2 bases, about 300 Italian soldiers, and a smaller contingent from the EU. Because France and the U.S. are not the only ones that want to secure the access to that resource. And that's something that fascinates me. And I know we're almost out of time, but this kind of little kerfluffle that popped up here is a lot less ideological and a lot less clearly Ukraine is about resources, or in the case of Russia, needing to secure access to a port to maintain a relevant commercial power in its own backyard, right? But it's very much tied to the kind of like old politics of Europe, right? That world that we thought fucking died after World War II, right? or not necessarily died, but do you know what I mean? Like became less important in world history after World War II.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there was a Cold War, but it had largely kind of fallen into a stalemate. It wasn't the center of global conflict anymore, as it had been for the basically like 800 or 900 years preceding.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so at any rate, it's interesting to see this because it is transparently about a resource. They're like, oh no, we need that uranium.
You gotta give it.
And peak everything is something Richard Heinberg has talked about, right? And we talk about resource depletion. It's not just like climate change, which climate change sometimes overshadows resource depletion, but like, and it is a really big fucking deal, right? Because it's making these irreparable changes or whatnot. But the resource depletion is really kind of, in a material universe, what is driving a lot of the breakdown of society. Climate change will exacerbate that by upsetting transportation systems, communication systems, and other things, other systems that are part of the greater extraction system of industrial civilization. And that's what kind of makes things fall apart. And I need to go back because I fell asleep on the plane listening to a new book I checked out. It was actually Richard Heinberg's blog. I subscribed to his newsletter and saw that he had interviewed a guy about collapse. I'll talk about it maybe on Thursday or so. But anyway, it's a book about state collapse and talking about that kind of cycle and that conflict between like the wealthy elite and the masses, and this balancing act between all that throughout history. And it's just the story of humanity at this point. It's like, yeah, we fucking fight over shit. We can probably find a way to not have to fight over shit that much, and certainly not kill each other over things that are not going to fucking change the situation anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you look at it and you do like an analysis of energy, anytime you involve war, you're unnecessarily just throwing resources at nothing. Like, it would be cheaper to just be like, cool, we all have this much. How do we share it and trade equally? We don't have this, you don't have that. Let's get this shit going. Like, it really just would be so much easier if people would agree to mediocrity, I guess. Instead, you have so many people. What's that? What?
That's what I'm saying. Collapse now and avoid the rush, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, so much of this is just a few people who act outside the norm, which is just like, hey, let's keep going and do what we've been doing. And then you got people that are like, hey, cool, I want to do this, and I develop, science or whatever. And then you have some people that are like, I just want more power. I don't like not being the same as you. I want something more. And it's like, we need to like start beating them down the moment they express that. It's like, nah, man, fuck you. You don't get to or have all this additional power. You have a sickness in you. We need to get rid of it.
Yeah, 100%, man. Industrial civilization. Let's go back to that article and just do 2 more paragraphs.
Yeah.
So this coup happened in the context of ongoing, it says, militant mass demonstrations demanding the removal of troops in military base. So it's an anti-colonial struggle at its core. Of course, it's about the resources, but that's what anti-colonialism is about too, right?
Right.
Venezuela sells its oil
Yeah.
It's still bad for the fucking climate, but at least they had a little autonomy, right? So then there was these demonstrations, and amid those demonstrations, he invited more troops. He's like, oh shit, my power is getting a little shaky. Invite more in, right? Which just kind of added fuel to the fire. And his crackdown on anti-French protest movement, its leaders and opposition parties, further diminished his domestic credibility as a representative of the democratic will of Niger's people. As the head of the presidential guard, this guy removed him on 26 in a coup. And there have been repeated demonstrations welcoming the military takeover and demanding the removal of all foreign troops from Niger. All right, let's come back to us. So I think we covered it a lot. I think it's interesting too that this isn't just like something that happened. Like the former guy kind of demonstrated that he basically
He's a bit of a dick about
oh no, I suck France's dick.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't want our country sucking France's dick. And then they're like, get the fuck out of here.
They don't bathe enough.
France is like, I'm gonna have to come fucking tackle you and take your uranium and stick my dick in your mouth or whatever it is. Okay? Like,
I have not bathed in
Jesus
7
Christ.
days.
What's that?
No. Once is enough.
Once is enough. Thank you. I love this. So let's talk about Ahsoka because we're already a little over time. That's my fault.
Okay.
I'm a little rambly.
It's all right. Rambling's fun, my man. Anyway, Ahsoka coming out. 2 new trailers that came 3 days ago, which would have been, I think, after our last shooting the Poodoo anyway, so we wouldn't have gotten it. It's not my fault.
Yeah, over the weekend, I think.
Yeah. And we just got
Or maybe Friday. Get the hype. The 2 fucking trailers. Do you want to watch both of them and then kind of have a conversation about them? Or do one
they're
small
pretty
conversation,
different.
one small conversation?
Yeah, small conversation, conversation. They're pretty different. One's like for Ahsoka, one's for just Star Wars.
There are so few Jedi left. She's coming.
Our enemies are multiplying. The galaxy is not safe. I could use the help.
It's now or never.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
Hunt them down.
This is where it gets interesting.
Get ready. Ready.
Ready.
Ahsoka, 2-episode premiere August 23rd, only on
He
Disney
was
Plus.
fighting him on the planet that looked like the one from The Mandalorian that she fought Morgan Elsbeth on. So maybe right after Mando leaves, maybe that would be it. Like she would just be like walking back and meditating after you see like the Razor Crest lift off and fly away, and then she goes back to where she was staying to meditate, and then this fucking assassin comes. I guess she got Morgan Elsbeth to the New Republic. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I really want a live action as much as an animated droid can be live action. Chopper to kill someone, just it really needs to happen. Come on, Disney.
Yeah, and make it dark too.
Yeah, give it like a mature rating or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like make him so he like is like hacking an electrical panel and like pulls a wire and like and the guy
PG-13
coming out from under the helmet.
Hell yeah.
That'd be cool. So more Rebels, New Republic stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to see that. That was a show that I enjoyed when I watched it, and so it's nice to have the characters come back.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think that doesn't give us any more than we already knew.
No.
Except maybe link that this kind of Inquisitor type character we've seen. But I think that was they're just being clever in the editing.
Yeah, I think it's the editing.
I don't think they're related. I've heard rumored flashbacks with Anakin. I've heard rumored flashbacks that could have been a fight that happened before we caught up with her in The Mandalorian. Maybe right before The Mandalorian comes. It's not important. The thing about a story like this is that we already know so many parts that like you can kind of come at it in chunks.
Yeah.
And we can use it to like kind of flesh out stuff that's already happened in a clever way.
Sometimes when I watch these like Star Wars theories and stuff, I never really got into all that part of it. But I did get into the game theorists, and like they have this whole thing going with all these weird ass games that are being released where they're like, where does this fit in this story? Where does this fit in this story? And I'm just like, this is just like all those Star Wars people who are just super into it and want to like, you make sure everything fits into this, proper canon. And I'm just like, it's like a million different people telling a million different stories. There's going to be fuck ups.
Yeah, 100%. It's just, I like it because it's a sandbox, man. I think I say that often. So you can just tell any fucking story in it. And it's just kind of, there's pieces and you don't have to connect your story to other pieces. It's so long as like the setting is familiar, right?
Yeah.
Like
sometimes a droid thinks it's a human and it's not. It's definitely not.
There's been some comic books or graphic novels that dropped recently. One of them's like Greedo basically coming in, like how Greedo got into Jabba's court.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic, right? No main, I guess Jabba the Hutt's the main character and Greedo is, I guess.
Yeah.
He's not a main character, but like, he's kind of telling stories within the universe that don't have to be centered on this great, like epic fucking battle of good and evil.
Yeah.
What motivates Greedo? Tell me that fucking story.
I guess.
Well,
don't put it on Disney Plus. I don't care that much.
Oh, I mean, I think it would be a great format on Disney Plus to do is like Tales of the Bounty Hunters. Right?
Yeah.
Like redo that like Tales of the Jedi, but like do it about, and not necessarily like follow the now Legends book of short stories of the same name.
Right.
But do a couple seasons where you can tell 2 or 3 stories the way they did in Tales of the Bounty Hunter, where they just did a few on Dooku and a few on Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And it was fucking wonderful. It was perfect.
Yeah, I really like those episodes. That was what was it called?
The art is good and it's fucking dark.
That's not Visions. What was that one?
No, Visions is where they do episodes from different studios.
Yeah,
Tales
what's the one
of
you're
the
talking
Jedi
about?
was done
Tales of the Jedi, okay.
Under direct supervision of Dave Filoni, I think. I want to say, don't quote me, but it was definitely a Lucasfilm project, not like an experimental thing. And they plan to tell those 2 stories about basically a master and an apprentice.
All right. Yeah.
And in some senses, Dooku trained Qui-Gon trained Obi-Wan trained Anakin trained Ahsoka. So there's like a literal like a legacy, a family legacy of master and apprentice.
Yeah.
So and those 2 stories kind of bookend what occupies most of the 2 trilogies, the prequel and the OT. So yeah. So we got another trailer we can talk about.
We do. This one's not exactly a trailer. Kind of. I don't know. I like it.
Always 2 there are.
This is
no more, no less. A master and an apprentice.
Be mindful of the living force, young Padawan.
You will be tempted by the dark side of the Force.
One must destroy in order to create.
Master. It's been a while. Things have changed. Sometimes we have to do what's right.
Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi.
Buckle up.
Never be afraid of who you are. Pass on what you have learned. React what they grow beyond. That is the true burden of all masters.
Ahsoka 2-episode premiere streaming August 23rd on Disney+.
But it's not Ahsoka because it was literally like Revenge of the Sith and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And
Yeah.
Cool.
It's more of like a mashup. Huh?
What's the other real one? Wasn't there a real one?
Both of those were real.
Oh shit, that was an actual, not a fan edit.
Yeah. That was one that was done. It was released on Star Wars.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, that was real.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because they're hyping Disney Plus. They're like, you can watch it all.
yeah, watch it all, motherfucker.
But there was a fan edit that came up and it started with fucking Thrawn. And I thought that was the real one because I was like, oh, that's sick. Because that last trailer did very little. They're like, oh, we're going to do this other thing with these Dark Jedi. And like, so they're probably setting us up for disappointment that Thrawn is not going to be, it's going to be like, I don't know, one of their other shows where they like introduce the real villain at the very end.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh yeah. And just so you can fight it in the next one, those are gonna go full fucking Marvel and just be like, they're all interwoven and you can't not watch them, bitch. We own your life now. Just take
But
vacation till you die.
I did hear today they were tearing down part of the set of Andor, and I'm not sure how much they got filmed. I don't think they started filming. I think it was in pre-production when the writers' strike happened. And remember, Gilroy is like, well, I'm going to keep doing it. And everybody's like, oh, you piece of shit. So he's like, fine, I'll fucking stop doing anything. Because he's like, I'm more than a writer. Like, I'm a producer and I'm a showrunner. So, like, there's a lot of shit I can do on set that's not writing and still abide by, like, you know, guild rules or whatever. And they fucking guilted him. And they're like, well, you're in the guild, so stop working.
Yeah.
He's like, fine. And then the actors went on fucking strike in solidarity, or I guess they had their own reasons too.
Yeah, they had their own, but it was.
But I mean, it was
said for solidarity.
If there's a time to strike, it's when someone else is already striking.
Yeah, Comrade Nanny all the way.
Yeah, and then UPS reached a tentative deal, and maybe there was some kind of negotiation recognizing or I don't even think it was a tentative. I think they might have reached a final agreement. Maybe we'll cover that Thursday because I don't know all the details. Do you?
I just know that they did reach a final deal.
They averted strike is what happened.
Yeah.
So they probably came back with some compromise, and they're like, yeah, because most of them probably want to work, and most of them recognize that they're probably, and this is, I don't know how to think about that, man. Is it like, oh yeah, they buckled and gave us what they wanted because they already have two very high profile or solidarity strikes happening, right? Yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
And so we want to keep this from happening, or they recognize, hey, we're going to compromise because we know how important this is to the economy. How much of it is that, and how much of it is the UPS workers being like, at least we're getting something. The railroad workers were getting nothing, and they were forced to fucking work. And we are in this economy as important as railroad workers.
I mean, yeah, and I haven't looked it up since like shortly after it was announced that they had settled on a deal. So I would definitely want to wait till Thursday to try to talk about it any further.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm curious. Let's explore that a little bit and find out what motivated them to accept the deal. But I definitely think they are very much as important as the railroad union, and they are, I think, I'm not sure if they'd fall under the same law or not. But as the rail workers, but I think so. I think when it comes to like national security and like the interest of functioning national economy, they can just force everybody to work.
Yeah. And I mean, if they can stop you from striking, that's the same as forcing you to work. So, I mean, they've stopped strikes in the past. If you'd like to, we can watch that fan one. And I will say, here's why so many people got confused, is because nowhere in the title does it say it's a fan trailer.
Which is fucked up.
Literally goes as far as to say final trailer. And it's only when you get down to here that you say, watch the fan concept trailer concept or Star Wars.
Yeah, that has to be in the headline. Like, you know, some of the stuff that YouTube censors or is like, oh, you're using copyrighted shit, like, is absolute horseshit, as we've dealt with ourselves, right?
Yeah.
But then you have something like this, and the fix is not to remove this. I think that if Disney doesn't ask to remove it, YouTube shouldn't remove it. And even if Disney did ask for it to be removed, like, they'd have to give a pretty decent reason, because this isn't I mean, technically it's intellectual property, I guess, but it's in a new and creative way, which is qualifies as fair use in a lot of ways. But I definitely think that YouTube should throw, if they're like, you know, a video about climate change that says like, you know, like, oh, these Italian storms are fucking out of control, and like, what's the role of climate change? And then they're like, here, click on the CIA's fucking encyclopedia called Wikipedia, and read about the official narrative of climate change, which, you know, is a good, I think, accurate wiki page. For real. I mean, I haven't been through it, but I trust that the information is up to date, and
it's pretty good.
Maybe underemphasizes the seriousness of the problem, but that's okay for something that's supposed to be, you know, putting up a facade of impartiality. But they put that little notification at the bottom when even you're like, I'm saying basically shit that's in agreement with the wiki, but you're going to warn people that I could be bullshitting you. Just put a little notification that says this is not unofficial or, non-sanctioned fan trailer.
Well, anyway,
let's watch it.
The Empire may have fallen, but my ambitions never wavered. I am Grand Admiral Thrawn, and my return is inevitable.
If we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain.
You and I both know who could help you with this.
She's still just as stubborn as ever.
As a Jedi, sometimes you have to make the decision no one else can. But I'm counting on you to see this through.
We have to prepare for the worst.
War is inevitable. One must destroy in order to create. We are no Jedi.
I've spent most of my life fighting a war. That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one. Get ready. Ready. Ready.
There are so few Jedi left. She's coming.
Anakin. Thrawn's tactics are unlike anything I've faced before.
Video effects there.
I wish I never should have left you.
Ahsoka.
And also, like, trying to put something in there that's not been hinted. I mean, I think there were rumors that Hayden Christensen was on set.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, when you're Hayden Christensen, you could just be like, I just want to
I'll be on set. Yeah. I want to see what's going on.
Maybe he's trying to, like, learn about producing because he's going to do an indie project or whatever. Like, and they're just friends, and he is, like, kind of a legacy. Like, he could show up when he wants, as long as they're like,
do what I fucking want. I'm Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, I mean, he's already under all sorts of non-disclosure agreements, and he's been around enough to where fucking Lucasfilm trusts him.
Yeah.
To be on set and not leak. I don't know. He could be in it. He could not be. Could be a flashback. It could be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was weird they were trying to like tie that in. There's some bad voices. I don't think those are voices pulled from anything.
No, I don't think the Thrawn one was pulled from anything.
Yeah. But I thought it was a really rad concept, and I wish that Disney had put out a trailer that maybe emphasized Thrawn a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's just like maybe this is just his introduction, because I mean he wasn't there right away after the Empire fell in Legends. Like it took him a while to be resurgent. And
I think that's what the Ahsoka show is about.
Yeah, I'm hoping that that's just the introduction, and they actually go with doing Thrawn and doing a lot of the ideas that Timothy Zahn wrote and putting them on the screen.
Was that Star Destroyer nose down? Was that from the last season of Mandalorian? What's his name, who we thought died, wasn't dead, and then crashed the Star Destroyer into the base?
I don't remember.
God, what's his fucking name? Axe Woves. We thought he was the traitor, and then
you're talking about the Mandalorian
previous
guy.
season. He was in the episode, and then no longer in the episode, or not in the next episode.
Yeah, and everyone
part of that's because he was supposed to die in the previous one, and they changed it that Mando did the heroic act, so he didn't die.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just kind of absent from part of it.
Yeah.
And when they pieced it back together after they made that creative decision, and only the watchful eye of internet nerds could pick it out, because I didn't notice.
Yeah, no, fuck, man, no. Not watching it that hard. I'm just like, let me escape. And maybe form like an idea or two.
Well, that's our show, man. How you feeling right now?
Me? Oh,
yeah.
Feeling pretty good. A little stony.
You're stony? Still doing edibles?
Yeah. Can you hear the music?
Well, I was going to update you all on some things, and I don't think I really have much time to do that. Just a few minutes here.
Okay. Let me stop the stream then.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We can just wrap the stream.
Yeah. You gonna do it?
Well, I mean, we still have a few minutes. I was just going to give a quick public update, and then we can actually debrief on. I mean, I drank a lot. I ate a lot of food. My stomach has been kind of not quite right for the last several days. And that could be a count of like very excessive drinking. I mean, like, yeah. Fucking Swedes. So I went to a wedding in Mexico. My girlfriend's family, one of the daughters who's a Mexican citizen was getting married. A dual citizen, U.S. and Mexican, getting married to a Swedish guy who she met when he was vacationing in Mexico. And then they've been together for like, I don't know, 6 years or something. They were getting married in Mexico. So all the Swedes came out, and then it was a big fucking party, and it was fucking ridiculous. And it was just, it was fun. But a lot. And then, yeah. Came back to the same shit. I'm fucking hot as fuck. If you haven't noticed, I'm like touching my face constantly. Yeah. That's me wiping sweat off my face.
In Mexico, you missed a few relatively cool days.
You had very few?
No, I said you missed a few relatively cool days while you were gone. I got down to like
I think there's a few more in the forecast.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just kind of doing it. Feels like this summer is just kind of these really short heat waves. Like, 3-4 days, 103, 104, maybe 106 or something.
Yeah.
And then dropping back into the mid 90s. And fuck where I live. If it's mid 90s and during the day and like 65 degrees at night, like I'm okay living in a hot Mediterranean climate, right? Like it's just the balls hot all the fucking time that drives me nuts.
Yeah, I do need like some sort of relief at some point.
Yeah, I mean, 95 is not bad, especially if it gets cool at night. Like if it's 70 at night and 95 during the day, that's kind of annoying, but like still not that bad.
Yeah, I was able to get a lot of work done in the garden over the last like 4 days, I think. So that's good.
Yeah, the person.
Although Baldur's Gate did come out, and that has interrupted all plans.
Have you been able to play that at all?
The third. I have 32 hours in the game so far. Over 4 days.
Bro, I think I put in, over the last 5 days, I think I put 32 hours into drinking. I'm not fucking joking. Like I'm drinking a beer now, and I'm okay drinking beer. I had like 3 or 4 last night, and like, I had a couple cocktails and a few beers the night before. Maybe got a little buzzed or something on the wedding night proper. The night before, though, it was fucking absolute bananas. And it's funny, right when we got there, the bride's mom was like, "Hey, just to let you know," because we were on the bride's side of the family.
Yeah.
It's like, just to let you know, don't try to keep up with the sweets. It's like, because like you probably won't be able to.
I take it as a challenge, sir.
I actually told the sweets the next day when they're like, "How you feeling? How you feeling?" And I was like, "Well, to be completely honest, not that great." And they're like, "Yeah, I can see that." And I was like, later on, I was like, she warned me. She said, "Don't try," and I fucking tried, and I think I did it. They're like, "No." The fucking Swedes, like after everybody left at like 2 a.m., they just turn on fucking techno music and keep drinking.
That's the part I couldn't hang with, is the techno music. I could do the drinking. I'm pretty sure.
They fucking, like, one morning I went over to do laundry like after the wedding, because I didn't like really party that hard because I felt kind of like shit still from the day before. And so I went to go do some laundry at a different property where most of the Swedes were staying. Some Swedes were in our house, but like everybody else was at the main property. And to keep them together, they kind of did that on purpose. Like the ones that were not in the wedding party proper, so like not groomsmen or whatever. They gave the groomsmen like more space, and then they kind of had like bunk housing almost for the rest of the Swedes, and they were all kind of, most of them, most everybody spoke English, at least a little tiny bit, more English than I speak Swedish. To
be fair, yes.
To be fair. But ultimately, we're not super comfortable speaking Swedish, so like they couldn't really keep up in English conversations.
Yeah.
So they kind of kept them together so that they could feel comfortable and have a good time together.
Yeah.
But it was just fucking food and drinks and food and drinks and food and drinks and a lot of sitting around and waiting. Yeah.
Let's see. The kid moved out over the last few days. She's living in her dad's house now. The only thing that's left is like a cube unit, a desk, and her TV.
Are you gonna move into the space right away?
Fuck yes.
Are you gonna finally have, like, an office?
I've already done no, actually, we thought about that. We talked about it. And it's like, no, we could move the computers there. And I was just like, I mean, we could, but then I'd have to like run big cable runs because like Wi-Fi doesn't work well back there. It's too far.
I think realistically, you probably want to be on your computer, and your wife probably wants to watch TV. Mm-hmm. And at least if your computer's in the living room, you can still hang out together, even though you're doing different shit.
Oh no,
Put your computer in the other room.
A lot of times, what I'm doing goes on the TV.
Oh,
like volume and all, and she'll just like read a book or play a game or whatever. Look up every once in a while and be like, "Why is that woman nude?" And I'm like, "It's just part of the game." I didn't turn it off, but I didn't turn it on.
So what are you gonna do with the space?
We're gonna do sewing and crafts. I've been thinking about moving the music in there because she has a big ass like 88 key keyboard, and I've got a ukulele that I've been putting off learning because I'm just really bad at doing new things.
Yeah,
and my hand is being annoyingly difficult with me right now. It's very fat sausages.
Well, that's about time, man. I had fun. We talked a little bit about Africa. Join us Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific time for another episode of Shooting the Poodoo, where we'll talk more about probably Africa, Ukraine. I think we should do an update on the strike because we were talking about the UPS strike and being a little in the dark on that, other than knowing like the kind of general this happened. Don't really know much about why it happened or what kind of the context was.
I actually, my wife knows a guy who works there, so I can like pick her brain a little bit because she kind of got the skinny on what's been going on.
Cool. We'll update them on the UPS strike and then the SAG and WAG writer WGA.
Yeah, there you go.
And any other kind of labor news, maybe we'll throw a little news item on there and to do a little war news, a little labor news. And then we'll be back.
I wanted to at some point go over a video about Google trying to restrict the use of ad blockers.
Sweet.
Trying to basically do digital rights management for the internet.
Yeah, let's talk about big tech monopolies and the danger inherent therein. And we'll do that later. And we'll keep coming to you every Monday and Thursday for now at 9 Pacific Standard Time with new content. And we hope to see you then.
See our beautiful faces.
We like to remind you here at With Thunder's Applause that when liberty dies, it dies.
With thunderous applause.